and thanks for joining us. We are here today at Angels Stadium, and the guest on our show today, well, get ready to be entertained. Gar Ryness is known as the batting stance guy. He's that guy that knows everybody's batting stance in all of baseball. I tried to stump him. Let's see how I did. When did you start having this obsession with these guys' stances?
You know, I didn't think I had an obsession with it.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of kids in the 70s and 80s went out in front, played wiffle ball, stickball, and credit-ball, and would go through and pretend to be whatever player they were pretending to be next.
Okay.
So I didn't think I was any more special than anybody else. It just, anyone with self-respect would have stopped doing that at like 12 or 13.
Right, but you continued it, so you're sort of OCD like they are a little bit.
It's definitely something high-functioning.
Yes.
But people just kept lobbing out names, and people then would laugh, and so why stop?
How did you remember everybody? Because, I mean, some people are very obvious, like a Kevin Youkilis and a Nomar, but I don't think I would necessarily know, like, Ethier.
Yeah, a lot of it is persona, so they may not do anything that interesting with their hands, but they're the way they unbutton their shirt too much, or the way they kind of look too cool for school. For whatever reason, that makes sense to me. I noticed that about each player.
Okay, so now I have to ask you, growing up, you must have been a huge baseball fan.
Yeah, and yeah.
I love your answering machine. Is it your daughter?
It is.
Yes, it says, my dad's probably at a baseball game or something.
Which is better than what she did have, which was my dad's watching High School Musical right now. So she kind of dug me for a little bit like that.
Okay, so what team did you grow up loving?
It makes no sense, but in Northern California, for some reason, I was a huge Kent Herbeck fan of the Minnesota Twins.
Wow.
So I'm not making any friends at Angel Stadium of Anaheim, but for some reason, I like that 80s and 90s Twins the most.
All right, now, so you do older players, younger players, current players. Are teams getting funnier, or guys getting funnier at their stances, or not so funny as they were a long time ago?
That's a good question. I think that all the young guys coming up do something kind of interesting. Now I think they know that if they put their foot a little wide, or if they kind of shimmy their shoulders a little bit more, that everybody else is doing it, so it's cool. Back in the 70s, there were definitely some guys that had weird stances, but a lot of guys that just stood straight up and just kind of hit like they're supposed to. Okay,
so of everybody that you do, who is your favorite person to do? Is there one, or is there just not?
Well, for sure, like you said, I mean, Kevin Youkilis is, I feel like, the funniest, and I desperately need him to win MVP awards, and God bless the Halos, but I need for Kevin Youkilis to be good for the rest of his career with that stance. But for me, like Adam Dunn last week asked me to imitate Hunter Pence and Moisés Alou. I never get asked those guys, and I think they're really funny. So I guess it's the people that I don't get asked, the Ben Ogilvies, the Gary Matthews Sr., the Sarge, and Moisés Alou. Those are guys I think are funny, but I never get asked. So it's almost like I like the song on the album that never gets played on the radio more, even if the one that played it on the radio drew me in first.
Okay, is there anybody that you don't do? I mean, has anyone ever stumped you?
Well, most people will try to stump me with their cousin who's on the Indians in AA. So it's like, well, okay. No, my high school grades would suggest I have no special brain powers. So there's certainly players that are just coming up. Like there could be a player that came up today, and I don't know them. But when a team has me come out to the field, one brush over that roster, there's probably only 3 or 4 guys I haven't heard of or I don't know. And so usually I'm certainly could be stumped for like a 1979 Blue Jay.
Okay. You have an amazing Rolodex in your head, though, of these guys. That's incredible.
Some people would say incredible. Some would say
ridiculous.
Thank you. Yes, more functional.
No, it's, you know what, it's very fun, and I love their reactions to watching you. As we were talking about, Manny Ramirez was just laughing. Watching you do him, and then everybody else on the Dodgers. So that was fun.
You know, what's weird is that when my buddy threw it on YouTube, the buddy who I wrote the book with, he threw it on YouTube, and I had no plan to make this any kind of a thing, and so when he threw it on YouTube, and we got a bunch of views, and ESPN threw it on their site, and YouTube had it on their front page for a day. I thought, okay, if this gets in the hand of season ticket holders, they'll appreciate it, but I did not know that the players would actually enjoy it the most. For one, why would I think I'm going to be hanging out with the players? But it's their work. It's what they see 1,000 times from even the obscure players, batting practice, games practice. So for them, I mean, they get it. They get the nuances, the facial expressions, the bravado. It's I can't explain to you how gratifying it is to find an audience that for the first time ever truly finds it funny.
You know, I was going to ask you, I mean, as a fan, you are a true fan. Do you love hanging out with these guys and meeting these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that I'm, late 30s, balding, married with kids, like working in nonprofit. Like it feels a little bit more like enjoyable. Like I could just enjoy it. I mean, I think if I was 17 and desperately trying to make my mark as a reporter in this world, I mean, I feel like there'd be more pressure. So it's absurd to be literally to be sitting next to you right now on a field,
on a real ball field,
is ridiculous, and that's not lost on me. That I mean, when now Brewers, Rock, and now certain teams have a run the park, run the stadium, run the bases Sunday for kids. I'm 37. I would actually want to do that myself. So this is not lost on me that this is happening. No, it's a blast.
It's amazing. Now, do you do pitching stances also?
So I think I can do pitching, free throw, quarterback throws, just kind of as good as the next guy. But Maria, honestly, I mean, every athletic dream I've had has come true the last 3 years, being, we'll call it batting stance guy. So there's a kid out there that's going to be pitching wind-up dude, and I want that kid's dream to come true because I've lived so much in the last 3 years that let somebody else in Texas be three-point stance man and imitate all defensive tackles and come up and get to meet all their heroes and go on, the Cowboys and Steelers field.
Exactly. Okay, well, listen, the most fun part about Gar is watching him and watching the players watch him, so let's get right to it. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.